In terms of the drama, it lived up to the hype in every conceivable way. The iconic programs, the iconic coaches, and the iconic venue. And we get ourselves an unbelievable game. You see Orlovsky, Taylor Ruan up with us. And I want to shout out my good friend Paul Finebaum, who flew all night long last night from the game so he could do the show with us this morning. And Paul, that is much appreciated. We have a million things to get to with you. Let's start with this. The first words out of Dan Orlovsky's mouth this morning were, Michigan outcoached Alabama. That's Nick Saban, the greatest coach, in most people's opinion, in the history of the sport. What is your assessment?
That's exactly what happened, Greeny, and being around a bunch of analysts on the field during the game, that's what I kept hearing from them. And by the end of the game, you can pick a million places if you want. Obviously, players have to execute, as I know you've already said, but ultimately you expect Nick Saban to outcoach everyone, especially Jim Harbaugh, the one that some of us have maligned and wondered about and pointed out his postseason record. And to see that happen, it was quite frankly shocking. I have the utmost respect, as all of you do, for Nick Saban. We know his record. We don't need to regurgitate it. But yesterday, Nick Saban was outcoached by Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, and in particular, on the offensive side, would you say that Tommy Rees's name, who was the offensive coordinator, who most people know, he was the quarterback at Notre Dame once upon a time, then became the offensive coordinator for the Irish, and now the offensive coordinator in Alabama. Very high-profile position. What was your assessment of the job he did last night?
I was underwhelmed, Greeny, and this is a guy that a lot of us were questioning after the Texas game on September 9th, and then the next week, we all know what happened. He pulled Jalen Milroe, and he went through the second and third team, especially the guy he brought with him, Tyler Buckner from Notre Dame, who's now about to leave Alabama to play lacrosse, and he really was able to figure out a lot of things, namely the offensive line got very good, and by the time we got to Georgia a couple weeks ago, they were great. What we saw last night was the offensive line of the Texas game, and it's hard to really put into words the morning after, but Tommy Rees did not dial up a very good game. He didn't adjust very well, and when it came down to the biggest play of the year, he failed.
How about on the other side? Danny's going to show us a tape in a moment here, but Taylor, let me bring you into the conversation here. We've spent a lot of this morning talking about Michigan's defense and what it did against Alabama's offense. How about the other side? How about when Michigan's offense was on the field last night, Taylor?
I thought the offense did good. I think there were pieces here and there, some of the play calling, trying to call a flea flicker on the 40-yard line after a turnover is just an insane call to do. When they had to have it, they got it done. Strategically, yes, they outcoached Nick Saban, and the game could have been, a double-digit game if we make the field goal and we don't spot them 6 points in the beginning of the game.
Danny, talk about the offense, that side of the ball.
I thought the offensive play calling for Michigan was once again a massive advantage. And just like we talked about, like the defensive side, first play of the game, Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator for Michigan, was like, here comes blitz. If you watched Michigan offensively early on, it was very clear what they wanted to do. They wanted to shift and they wanted to motion. Show you a picture pre and then change it post. So here's the extended bunch on the 4th and 2 that basically secures the game. Now the extended bunch comes down. Now watch what happens to Blake Corum. Blake Corum's on the left of J.J. McCarthy. That backside backer has him. Then they're going to hop or flip him at the very last second, left to right. We just saw Buffalo do this to the Dallas Cowboys. And then that linebacker front side's role changes. He gets picked by that once extended bunch down. Easy throw for J.J. McCarthy. Here's the Roman Wilson touchdown. Each of those guys has man-to-man, right? Now the tight end goes from outside to inside. Now the corner's role changes. The safety's role changes. That safety now has the tight end. He just had the wide receiver. When the tight end goes down, the safety's going to follow. Roman Wilson comes from one side of the line of scrimmage to the other, and because he has to step down as a safety, so the safety went from I have the wide receiver to I have the tight end to now I have Roman Wilson all within 3 or 4 seconds. This is a numbers advantage. We bring the backside tight end. This is a Kyle Shanahan type of play. We down block on the front side. No one adjusts for Alabama defensively. We kick out block, pull the backside offensive lineman. He's blocking a safety because we got the numbers advantage. And then Blake Corum caps off the game winner in what is an unbelievable career. So really, if we watch all of Michigan's touchdowns, every one had a shift and emotion attached to it. And every one, Alabama never adjusted accordingly. That is coaching. That is why Alabama absolutely, on both sides of the ball, got outcoached by Jim Harbaugh, Jesse Minter, and Sharon Moore.
Okay, so those are all the little picture, and we've spent all morning so far on those because it was such a dramatic game. Let's go to the bigger picture. Paul, you and I have spent almost this entire season talking about all of the tumult within and around the Michigan program. Perhaps the only fitting way for it to end is with them in this national championship game. You've had a lot to say about it. What do we say today about the chance that Michigan and Jim Harbaugh will cap this thing off with a national championship next week?
I think it's very good, and in spite of everything that has been said, Greeny, they look like the best team in the country. Georgia might have something to say, but Georgia blew their opportunity to get into the playoffs. And what I really think is interesting is what happens after next Monday night to Jim Harbaugh. As I was leaving LAX late last night, I took a look at the sports page of the LA Times. The lead columnist was begging Greeny, he was begging Jim Harbaugh to take the Chargers job. So that's some place that obviously Harbaugh would probably be comfortable. We know some other places like the Bears. He is going to be in serious demand a week from today for the NFL, and not one time out in Pasadena did he ever put that to bed. He dodged it. He gave word salads, and then last night he completely ignored the question by saying, I can't wait to get back to Ann Arbor. It's going to be a wondrous trip. So
fair enough.
He also has the NCAA around the corner, and that's really the issue.
You know that people have said, and candidly, I believe you are one of those people, who has said if Michigan wins a championship this year, it will be tainted based upon all the things that have happened. He's 1 win away from doing it. Will it be tainted, Paul, if they win it?
Greeny, I don't think so. And I know what I said, and I know what many of others have said.
Attaboy.
But when you look at the current state of,
let me just interject for a second,
Finey. College football right now, it is such a mess. And while a lot of us find what we believe the case to be here to be repugnant, almost everything about college football right now is repugnant. So I think Michigan, if they win, they'll hoist the trophy. There'll be haters out there, but most people, I think, are going to go, congratulations, you were the best team.
Taylor, that is a great deal of ink you have on your hand. I couldn't help notice that as you were just a moment ago. But and it is intimidating even with you not being in the room. So I will ask this question advisedly. The people who will say, because there will be many of them if they win, who will say this championship is tainted based upon the sign-stealing scandal, what will your response be to them?
I'd say, people love to punch up. That's what I would say. When you look at when all these allegations came out, it was before Penn State, it was before Ohio State, it was before the Big Ten Championship, and it was before Alabama. If you are cheating and people say, hey, this guy might be cheating, you're not going to go, let's just keep cheating and hopefully they won't find out. Those games, they would have won all those other games, no problem. All of them, no problem. So when you go to these big time games where, hey, Penn State's going to beat them in Penn State, Ohio State's going to beat, they're going to beat everybody. And then you go against Alabama, who everybody, Finey himself, which is why I was clapping, brother, because I love the fact that you're taking a knee, laying down the sword, and you're understanding that there's nothing here. Like, allegations or not, at the end of this, Michigan, if they win, they're the best team in college football, and they deserve to have the national championship.
Yeah, they might be that either way. Let me get Graziano on here really quick before I lose these guys, because Dan, Paul Finebaum alluded to it a moment ago, the possibility of Harbaugh leaving. For those, I know a lot of people have been on vacations and things like that, haven't followed it. This is not just sort of blank speculation. He did something in the last week that would definitively point to him going to the NFL.
He hired an agent, right? Don Yee, who represented Tom Brady, obviously a Michigan connection there. And so obviously that's another sort of log on the fire for those who want to speculate that maybe this is the year he jumps back to the NFL. Paul referenced the possibility of, maybe there's something coming with the NCAA. That's obviously out there sort of in the ether. I can't really speak to that. But between the Chargers job opening, right, and the Raiders job opening, right, and then that possibility, those are two places where Harbaugh's been connected in the past.
Right.
And it may just sort of line up that this is when he finally does go back. Because, I mean, people forget, he was a very successful NFL head coach.
Look, there were a couple of dots to connect here, but Don Yee was Tom Brady's agent.
Yes.
Harbaugh, Brady, very close. The Michigan thing. Brady now involved with the Raiders, so a lot of that would seem to make sense. Harbaugh has a lot of history with the San Diego Chargers, now the LA Chargers, so that would make sense.